All right, we're going to review for your test. Number 1 says Sally invested money in a savings account, and the account balance can be represented by the function f of x equals 300 times 1.03 to the power of x. Remember, if we have this form of equation, this part here is your start, and the inside the parentheses is your rate. And since my rate is bigger than 1, it's exponential growth. And my starting amount is the 300. Now remember, your rate has to be added to 1 or subtracted from 1. And here it was added to 1. So my rate is 0.03, or we change it to 3%. Mostly, though, you need to understand if it's growth or decay and what the starting amount is. Number 2, a farmer feeds a cow 3,200 milligrams of an antibiotic. Every hour, 35% of the drug breaks down in the cow's body. And so right there, that's telling me that it's exponential decay. The rate here is 35%, but when we put it into the equation, we have to change it to a decimal, so it's 0.35. And then, since we said it's decay, that means I need a minus sign. So these two are out, and we changed our rate to a decimal, so the answer here is A. Now, we're not going to figure out how much is left after 10 hours, but we are going to write the equation another way. And simply put, we're going to take what's inside the parentheses, 1 minus 0.35. We're going to subtract it and get 0.65. And so my equation would be y equals 3,200 times 0.65 to the power of x. Seeing that this is smaller than 1 also reminds us that it's exponential decay. That 3,200 is your starting amount. That's what I want to get across. The 0.35 is your rate. And then whenever we talk about the y-intercept, the y-intercept is also your start. So here my y-intercept is 0, 3,200. Okay, it's whatever that first number is. All right, exponent rules. On number 3, this is where we multiply the big numbers and we add the little numbers. So 4 times 2 is 8. And then I add my x's. I have 1 plus 3 plus 5, which makes 9. And then I add my y's, and I have an invisible 1 plus 3 makes 4. And then we do the same thing on number 9. Number 9 is also multiply the big numbers, add the little numbers. So here I multiply my big numbers, I get 12. I add up my x's. And I have 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 1 more is 8. And then I add up my y's, and I get negative 5. And just remember that whenever we get a negative exponent, we change it to a fraction, and we put it on the bottom, and we make it positive. So that's what your answer would look like. To go back up here, number 4. Number 4, I have an exponent on the outside of parentheses, which means I am multiplying exponents. So if I multiply exponents, I take this 3 times 7, 3 times 5, and 3 times an invisible 1, which I'm going to write in. So 1 times 3 is 3, so I have 4 to the 3rd power. And then I have 5 times 3, which is 15. And then 7 times 3, which is 21. And then I type 4 to the 3rd power in my calculator. So I'm going to go to my calculator and type in 4 raised to the 3rd power, and we get 64. So this becomes 64, a to the 15th, b to the 21st. Okay, we're going to skip around a little bit. We're going to do all of the same types. So we're going to skip to number 6. 6 is also multiplying exponents. So I take this 3 and I multiply it by each thing. So 6 to the third power, m to the 6th, n to the 15th. And again, I go to my calculator and I type in 6 to the third power. We're not typing anything else. And that gives me 216. So 216, m to the 6th, n to the 15th. And we're going to skip down to number 10 now. Number 10 is the same, multiplying exponents. So 3 times each of these, and there are a lot of things to multiply by. So I have 3 to the third power, x to the negative 12th, y to the negative 15th, z to the 21st. And again, I use my calculator and I type in 3 raised to the third power, which gives me 27. So this becomes 27, and the only other positive thing is the z to the 21. And on the bottom, I have my x to the 12th and y to the 15th. All right, number 7 is raised to the 0 power, which you need to remember that anything raised to the 0 power is 1. Right, and then I have 2 left. Here the rule is you divide the big number and you subtract the little number, the exponent, and it's always top minus bottom. So if I divide the big number, I get 3. And then I have my a's. I have negative 2 minus 7, which is negative 9. So a to the negative 9th. Then I have my b's, which are 9 minus negative 9, which becomes positive 18. So b to the 18th. And then I have my c's, which is 3 minus negative 5, and that equals 8. So c to the 8th power. And I rewrite it as a fraction. I have 3, b to the 18th, c to the 8th on top, and a to the 9th on the bottom. So we're going to do the same rule for number 8. We're going to divide the big number. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then I'm going to subtract the little numbers. 10 minus 1 is 9. And 9 minus 3 is 6. All right. Got a couple more questions here. Number 11, remember this equation. This is your start or your y-intercept. And then this is your rate. And here my graph is growing. So it's a growth function, which means that my rate has to be bigger than 1. And I start at 3. So my first number has to be a 3, which means these two are out. And then my rate has to be greater than 1, which means that one's out, and my answer is C. Same thing on number 12. This one is going down. We always read a graph from left to right, so it's decay. And I start here at 2. So I have to, my first number has to be a 2. And then inside the parentheses, I have to be something smaller than 1, so that means my answer is B. All right. Geometric. Remember, geometric is where you multiply or divide by the same number, and arithmetic is where you add or subtract. And on letter A, to get from 3 to 5, I add 2, and then I add 2 again, and add 2 again, and add 2 again. So this means it's arithmetic. On letter B, this is saying the first term is 12, the second term is 6, the third term is 3, and the fourth term is 1.5. And every time I divide by 2 to get to the next number. So this is geometric. And then on letter C, I could add 3, but then I would add 9. So that's not going to work, so it's neither. On number 14, this is saying the second term is negative 23, and the ninth term is negative 58. So this is your XY table. And from here, you're going to go to the calculator and type in your answer choices to see which one matches. So I'm going to go to a graph page, and we're just going to type right here. But we have to use x instead of n. So 5x minus 13. And then we press menu 5, 1. And the number we're looking for is 2. 2 goes to, well, this one says 2 goes to negative 3. But here, 2 goes to negative 23. So A is not your answer. Let's go type in B. So add a new graph page. B is negative 5x minus 13. Again, menu 5, 1. And I'm typing in 2. 2 gives me negative 23, which is what I want. If I type in 9, I get negative 58. So here my answer was B. And number 15 is very similar, where you're going to use a table. This time, if I just give you the sequence in order, then the first term is 8, the second term is 7.3, the third term is 6.6, and the fourth term is 5.9. And again, we're going to go type these in to see which one matches. So I'm going to go to a graph page, and I'm going to type in negative 0.7x plus 8. Menu 5, 1, and if I type in 1, it tells me 7.3. But 1 goes to 8, so that means A is not my answer. And if I type in B, I have negative 0.7x plus 8.7. Menu 5, 1, I type in 1, I get 8. 2 gives me 7.3. 3 gives me 6.6, and 4 gives me 5.9. So my answer here was B.